Imagine walking into a bank, ready to handle your finances, only to find yourself hitting a bureaucratic wall because of your last name. Sounds absurd, right? Well, for millions of women in the United States, this isn't a hypothetical scenario, it's a frustrating reality. Today, we're diving deep into a disturbing revelation: banks simply aren't equipped to interpret women's biographies. Before we continue, if you want to stay on top of everything happening in US politics, hit that subscribe button right now and leave a like. It really helps this channel grow. Now, what exactly does it mean for banks to be unequipped to interpret women's biographies? It boils down to the fact that common life events for women, events that are incredibly routine and widespread, trigger a labyrinth of documentation requirements that most men will never have to encounter. Think about marriage, divorce, and the subsequent name changes that follow. These aren't rare occurrences, they are fundamental milestones in the lives of millions of women. When a woman gets married, she might change her last name. When she gets divorced, she might revert to her maiden name or adopt another new one. These are not just personal preferences, they are often legally recognized changes that affect her identity and her financial standing. Yet, our banking systems, by and large, seem to operate on a static assumption of identity. They are built around a framework that doesn't gracefully accommodate these fluid transitions. For a man, life events that require changes to official documentation are far less frequent and often tied to more permanent shifts like a legal name change due to personal preference, which is still a less common event than marriage or divorce for women. The documentation burden for these shifts is significant. A woman might need to present her marriage certificate, divorce decree, new driver's license, updated social security card, and potentially birth certificates, all to prove that she is, in fact, herself. This can be a months-long ordeal, filled with anxiety and bureaucratic hurdles. Consider the implications. If a woman is trying to access her own funds, apply for a loan, or even open a new account after a major life event, she can be met with suspicion or outright rejection because her documentation doesn't perfectly align with the bank's rigid, often outdated, internal systems. The system isn't designed to understand that a woman with one last name on her birth certificate, another on her marriage license, and yet another on her divorce decree is still the same individual. It sees a discrepancy, a red flag, rather than a common, predictable life pattern. This isn't a minor oversight, it's a systemic bias embedded in the infrastructure of our financial institutions. It disproportionately affects women, particularly those who are divorced, widowed, or have experienced marital name changes multiple times. It can create significant financial stress, hindering their ability to manage their money, invest, or even conduct basic transactions. In an era where we talk so much about financial inclusion and empowering women, this is a glaring contradiction. What does this mean for the future? It suggests a need for a complete overhaul of how financial institutions handle identity verification and client records. Banks need to develop more sophisticated, flexible, and understanding systems that can recognize and process the common life changes women experience. This might involve better cross-referencing of legal documents, more robust customer service training to handle these situations with empathy, and a willingness to adapt to the realities of modern life. The political implications are also significant. This is an issue that touches on gender equality, consumer protection, and the very fairness of our economic system. Lawmakers and regulators need to take note. Are there existing laws that could be better enforced? Do new regulations need to be introduced to mandate more inclusive banking practices? This isn't just a technical problem, it's a social and political one. This issue highlights how deeply ingrained biases can be, even in systems that appear neutral on the surface. The banking industry, a cornerstone of our economy, is unintentionally creating barriers for a vast segment of the population. It's a problem that demands attention, not just from within the financial sector, but from policymakers and the public alike. So what do you think about this? Are you a woman who has faced similar challenges? Do you believe banks have a responsibility to adapt to these common life events? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one. This is a critical conversation we need to have.